Hello viewers, sicxckth here. Welcome to yet another video, my second in 2 days. We're finally getting back into the swing of things. But thank you for joining. Let's see what we can do then in the Nations Cup at Red Bull Ring. A1 Ring as it used to be known as back in the day. Well, we find ourselves here in, unfortunately, a lower level lobby. You might have just seen that. We're in a lobby with plenty of the DS players. The boost here is something I want to point out. Very, very important. Whenever Group 1 comes up, this Toyota tends to do very well because of its ability to harvest energy. It's very, very good. It's good for the planet, but it's also just good for your speed. Now, the tricky thing about this level of lobby was finding some space for my qualifying lap. Very, very difficult, it proved. So that penalty ruined 2 of my laps, annoyingly. We've got some space, and I mean, look at that space. They're about, well, the entire length of the straight ahead. This shouldn't be a problem, but you'll find out that it turned out that it was going to be a problem. I thought I left myself plenty of space, but obviously not enough. To come up into turn 3, which is effectively turn 2, but as with most circuits, they tend to have really silly corner numbers, and they give numbers to bits of the straight which aren't really corners, but they call it a corner, but it's not a corner. I don't know. There you go. If it was up to me, it would be very different. But you can see here bits of traffic dotted about all over the circuit, and that is suboptimal on your P1 qualifying all-out party mode qualifier lap, and that is going to prove to be the case as we come down into the final turn. Hooked up nicely through the final sector there. There's the middle sector which let us down, and there you go. Proof that this is a sicxckth video. Qualifying in 6th place. Could have easily gone a second quicker than that, I think. Low 16s is what I was doing in practice. And that was a low 17, so not ideal. But here, what's going on? Ram Shadow GT on pole position. Have you ever seen Ram Shadow and sicxckth in the same room at the same time? Well, if you hadn't, now you have. Okay, this guy weaving all over the place, trying to get some warmth into the tyres, but he loses a position immediately. Caught napping there. Shameful. We're going to go through this race quite quickly because I was a little bit disappointed to get put into this lobby, but then again, if I'm rage quitting all the time, then it happens. But it's not always such a bad thing because I can just sort of treat this race as a practice race, work out the strategy, learn what the car feels like on the different tyres, because in this race I'm going to use all 3 compounds of tyre, and just work out the strategy and all that malarkey. And we've already gone from 6th place up to 3rd, courtesy of everyone just throwing themselves off the circuit for me. So that's a pretty solid start, if I may say so myself. But the work isn't done just yet. Still 19 and a half laps left to go. Don't get too complacent here, Sonny. As we come up towards the final 2 corners, fast flying right-handers, almost into the back of the Portuguese driver here. As we dip down through the final corner at the end of lap number 1, and we're going to go for the lead, of course. I think we should go for it as quickly as we possibly can, as I definitely think that we could have been certainly up in the top 3 on qualifying if I'd actually hooked up a proper lap. Portuguese driver a little bit slow off the turn. He goes to the right hand side, also using the Toyota. Pretty much everyone who knows what they're doing goes for the Toyota. And if you see, it does make me laugh when you see someone in a Group C car around here. You think, yeah, that's not going to work, mate, I'm afraid. As the leader serves his penalty, we're both going to go through here. Top into 2nd. Can we look around the outside? It's probably not going to work, and it doesn't. We're going to have to continue and try to overtake him elsewhere on the circuit. Quite tricky to do though, especially in this from this sort of point onwards on the laps. Quite difficult because of the dirty air. Of course, once you get into Group 1, Group 2, or Group 2 and faster, you're looking at getting some very filthy air thrown into your face, and that does slow you down. Although, having said that, I overtake through the final sector and completely undo everything I just said. But there we go, up into the lead at the end of lap number 2, and from here it's really a case of just trying to pull away the best we can, get out of that toe, or get the guy out of my toe, and just try to get some breathing room. That will be very, very nice indeed. So we're going to come up towards turn 2. This is officially turn 2, this little left here. I suppose it is a corner, but then again it doesn't really feel like a corner. It's just sort of an entry point into turn 3 here. And we're hooked up beautifully. And that was that. A little bit later in the race, so end of lap number 10, I'm going to come in for my pit stop. So we started the race on the soft tyre. You don't actually have to use the soft tyre. You only have to use the medium and the hard for this one. But the soft tyre was so good on pace, and you really don't lose a lot of time from a pit stop. You only lose about, I think it's about 5 or 6 seconds. So it is worth, I think, putting the soft tyre on. A bit later on then we go in, so we've done the medium, then go on to the hard. I think the hard tyre really wasn't worth using for too long because of its lack of speed. But I just want to pause it here, because this was basically top 1 moments of top 1 photos before tragedy striked. And yes, complacency was setting in here, and well, you can see what happened. This guy just drives past me, laughing at Super GT. Obviously a bit of a tool, this guy. Me, that is. He's saying that about me. And he claims a free victory. I was so far ahead, and then one silly mistake. I don't know why this guy's cheering second place when he basically had a win in the bag, and then he just completely threw it away like an absolute douchebag. And I don't even use the word douchebag, but he's a douchebag. Okay, so finally, luckily, we improved our ratings. Look at this traffic jam here in qualifying. We improved our ratings enough to go back up into the higher level lobby of the top split of sportsmanship rating, if that makes sense. I'm not in the top split, definitely not. It's about the 4th or 5th split. I do need to improve my ratings. So hopefully we can hook up a proper qualifying lap here. It should be a bit easier to do, as we are in a slightly higher level lobby here. So we've got some spaces, someone coming out of the pit lane there. It's not going to get in our way, so that's good. Looking for about 150 metres before this corner I was braking, and that kind of gets you in there quite nicely. Rev out first gear, shift up quite early. You don't want to rev it out too much. Then downhill into turn number 4, a little bit wide, but you can use the power to go out wide. Traffic moving to the right hand side, getting out of the way completely, so you see a lot more etiquette here. Then into the middle sector, and it's actually really good fun. I was looking at this race thinking, I don't know, this might be a bit of a bore fest because of dirty air, but actually these Group 1 cars around here actually feel pretty good fun to drive, and I actually quite enjoyed it. Final 2 corners on this lap, so we did a 17, I think it was a 3 in the last race, but we could definitely go a second quicker. And as we cross the line here, it's going to be a 16.3, so indeed we do go a second quicker, but still 1/10 off of pole position. 1 lap later, this lap wasn't a good lap because I had to kind of slow down and just get some space, so that lap was quite a way off. But we do have 1 more lap. The unfortunate thing here is that I am warmed up now, I suppose, but my tyres are a little bit more worn. As we come through to end the second sector here, as we come into this corner, you see there I am a 10th up on my previous best. At this point sitting in 5th place, just over 2/10 away from pole position, so not much difference from 5th place where I am currently to getting at pole position. Just need to get these couple of corners correct. A little bit too wide, to be honest, and we're going to see how that pays dividends. Well, it's not going to pay dividends because we get a penalty. It was slightly quicker, but we got the penalty, doesn't count, so it's going to be a 5th place. We go 1 better than we went in the previous race, and we'll see how that turns out here then. So 20 laps, we've had our previous practice race, and hopefully now this can give us a good lesson as we go forward into this one. So race start. Pretty much everyone in the Toyota TS050, of course. So let's see how this race settles down. Main thing, just to not make any stupid mistakes. Very easy to do, especially for that first corner. Once you ride the sausage. Portuguese driver just moved to the left-hand side. I thought he was going to defend. He doesn't. That gives us the opening up the hill to go up the inside and claim 4th place. Belgian driver very wide there, and we're going to gain another position. A little bit further back in the pack, I just noticed this guy just getting on the power far too soon. He was in the top 10. He's going to drop all the way down the order. And if there's a time to make a mistake, it certainly is not at the start, because you lose so many positions. Almost murder the Finnish driver there. But luckily, it was just a minor love tap. And we both continue on our merry little day. And you can see the pack fighting quite hard behind. And it's very good to not be part of that. It does pay to be at the front, at the sharp end. It's kind of an obvious statement. You've probably worked that out by now if you're into motorsport, that being at the front is better. But typically, if you're in the middle of the pack at the start of the race, there's just more chaos, and you don't really want to be in it unless you are some sort of crazy, masochistic person that just relishes danger and death. Maybe you are that person, I don't know. I'm not judging you. But we continue. Lap number 2. The race has settled down, and we're in a good place here. 3rd place is a good place. It's on the podium, I suppose. But what I meant is we're pulling away as a trio, and you see the gap there opening up to 4th. So that's always good. You don't want to have too much pressure from behind if you can help it. If you can get away and not have to worry about someone else behind, then that's always good. Because I've always felt that motor racing is sort of how do I describe this? As I almost go for a move here, as this guy got a poor exit. I think it's true in a lot of sport that sort of the better you are, the more confident you get, the easier it is to sort of concentrate on different things. So if you have a distraction from behind, that's something else you have to divide your attention onto. But at the moment I don't have to worry about that, so I can give my full attention to lapping and trying to potentially overtake this guy. But yeah, the more you practice, I suppose, as well, the better you become at just dividing up your attention properly. Sometimes I think people maybe get pressured too easily if someone's behind them, and perhaps you shouldn't have been thinking about them too much, but there you go. We're going to whip it forward a couple of laps, so we're just churning out the laps here. It is a 20-minute race, a 20-lap race, and therefore it's going to be about 25 minutes or more maybe. So you don't always want to just be going for the move. Sometimes it's good just to churn out laps and just, as we said, look, we're now a good 4 or 5 seconds ahead of 4th place. That's good. We've basically achieved our objective here of just trying to pull away and therefore get a gap and not have to worry about them. And now we can really turn our attention just to try to fight. And I think about now is about the time to go for this move. I do sense I'm slightly quicker than this guy. The guy in the lead, we're probably about the same speed as. You can see that he's pulling away. 2nd place drifts a little bit too wide. That gives me the invitation to sling it up the inside into the final corner. And we go up into 2nd place. We now have a free run to try to catch up with the Frenchman in the lead, Mr. Phoenix here. And we're going to go about trying to do that right now. So the gap's sitting here about 1.3, and we're just about in the tow. Although I would say that we spoke about this earlier with the dirty air. It's hard to say exactly how much of a benefit the slipstream gives you. It definitely gives you a benefit on the straight, but then it does slow you down through the corners. So it's a bit of a swings and roundabouts situation. It does help you, but it also holds you back as well. Therefore, I'm not sure exactly how much of a benefit it gives you to be in the slipstream range. But there you go. All we can do is really just try to churn out some consistent fast laps. So in terms of the tyre strategy, you only have to use medium hard. But as I've said, the soft is really good for this race, and we can lap quite consistently in the 16s. I think the top players will be lapping somewhat in the 15s as well. But I think as long as I'm consistently in the 16s, maybe low 17s towards the end of the stint, then I'm kind of happy with that. Clunking over that curve in the final corner. The gap opening up to third, so I think he's just beginning to drop off slightly here. So I might have overtaken him just at the right time. If I sat behind him, then I'd be losing time as well. The gap now to the leader, just closing up slightly, 1.1. So we have gained. This is one of those races. I've had so many of these, and I really do like it. When you get into this kind of race, he goes a little bit wide, and he's gonna just lose a tenth or two. And it's really good when you get into one of these sorts of races where it really is very close between you and someone else. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are, just as long as it's close. It's always good to be in a close battle, regardless of how good or bad the battle might be. Regardless of how fast or slow you might be, is the right way to put it. So as long as you're equal with someone, then you can always have a good battle. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest or the slowest. And on this occasion, it looks like we are fairly evenly matched here. The gap around about a second, so he's just coming down, but very slowly. This is one of those ones where it's on a knife edge. It's a matter of tenths here and there. If you can gain a tenth for a corner, then you've done really well. And the gap is just coming down, 0.9. So it's coming down maybe a tenth or two per lap. Not much, but in a 20-lap race, I'll be on him within a few laps at this rate. And it did seem as though he's making a few mistakes, especially coming up here into turn 3 at the top of the hill. He's done it a couple of times. It's very easy to misjudge this braking point, actually, and just overshoot. Is he going to do it on this occasion? No, he actually clips the apex quite nicely there. So on lap 8, just slowly making our way forward. The closer we get, though, of course, the more we're going to experience the turbulent wake of the Frenchman, as dodgy as that sounds. But the closer you get, more dirty air, more filth you're going to be sliding about. And that is not ideal, but we're going to have to kind of just deal with it, basically. Look at third place, dropping off massively now. So it looked like it was going to be a good three-way battle, but player 3 has decided to rage quit the game in a metaphorical sense. Okay, interesting. He moves into the pit lane at the end of lap 8 to get rid of the soft tyres. He's gone for the undercut, I suppose, which is quite strange when you're in front, I guess, but I feel confident enough here. The thing I was worried about was coming out in traffic. You lose 6 seconds. You don't want to lose 6 seconds and then come out behind someone who's slower than you. So we're going to take a look at the map here and see exactly where it comes out. And a couple of people are not pitting, and it looks very close between him and someone else. And looking at the positions, he's actually been overhauled here by Go Dan Go. So that's the thing I was worried about. Pitting, getting stuck behind someone. Although a couple of seconds later, Phoenix does go back past him. So he did lose about half a second doing that move, it looked like. But he does manage to get back past him quite quickly. So that is good for his race, perhaps not good for mine. I wanted him to be slowed down as much as possible by the traffic. That is the reason why I left it one lap later. But we'll see if that is going to work out. I suppose now the benefit I will have is that I will have fresher tyres for the rest of the race. But we're going to come up here. We're not going to leave it too long. We might as well just come in one lap later. So come in now. So we're going to peel over to the right hand side and make the most of the Austrian flag on the floor for some extra room into the pit lane entry. Save a bit of time. So the Toyota boys here going to work, changing the tyres. Away we go. Where is he? Let's have a look. There he is, just coming to turn 1. It's going to be very close between us on the exit. And on the way out, he's got the boost, he's got the momentum, and he's going to slingshot through back into the lead. Okay, so if anything, I think he might have gained a little bit of time. I was within a second, and I think now we're just outside of a second. He has gained slightly, but I do have the tyre advantage now in this race. So yeah, the gap just increasing there to 1.2, 1.3. So he has gained a couple of tenths. So that's actually not turned out too badly. You normally do gain quite a lot of time from doing the undercut, from going into the pit lane first, which is what he did. But then he did get caught up behind that other car, did have to overtake it, would have lost a little bit of time as a result. and the result of all of that mathematics is that he has gained a couple of tenths. And now we have all the hard work to do once again to try to get back onto his tail. But it's a long race, there's no need to go mental. Just I was lapping consistently, the stint times were good, the lap times were consistent and good, and we're going to try to just keep in that sort of that vein of consistency and try to reel him in once again. I have the tyre advantage, so I might as well just play the long game here. I don't need to rush. We can catch up to him over the course of a good 5 or 6 laps and then begin to put the pressure on towards the end of the race. We do both have to go onto the hard tyre, so we're both running the same strategy here. I think when you're starting at the front of the pack, it is best to go onto the softest available tyre for the most part and just try to pull away. Just use the clean air, utilise the clean air, pull away, and then go onto the next available softest tyre, which in this case is the medium, and then go onto the hardest tyre at the end. That tends to be the best thing to do, I would say, but it's not always going to be the case. But I think for this race, it is definitely working. We're in the clean air. We're not getting overtaken by anyone. He was overtaken, I suppose, when he came out of that pit stop, but it's not it wasn't too bad for him. It turned out okay in the end. Now, coming through turn 1, you can see here he drifts very wide, and I thought he was going to get a penalty for that. I think his right hand wheels must have been on that sausage by 1 pixel. It was that close, and he just avoided a penalty. I think you have to keep your wheels on the sausage, the yellow sausage, and you're good. He makes a mistake. This is going to be a lot quicker than a few laps. He drifts a little bit wide. He's done that before, and I think just under that pressure, he knows that I'm gaining slightly. That previous lap was my fastest lap of the race, and therefore I think this is one of those cases where this is one of those races or cases where the guy ahead, he knows it's a close battle. He's checking that delta every lap. He knows that, oh, okay, yeah, the guy behind just gained a tiny bit, and he gained again, and he just knows the inevitable is coming. Super GT is slowly gaining on him, slowly but surely, and it's going to happen at some point very soon. Some of you might be wondering about the regeneration. There's no button to use the boost. We spoke about the boost. There's no button to use the boost, it just uses it when you accelerate. But you can harvest more boost by putting your brake bias towards the back. So I've got mine 3 to the rear, and basically regens when you brake and when you coast, so when you're not on the throttle. Up into turn 3, really close, really close now. Almost looking for the move, couldn't quite make it happen, although he's got a poor exit again from this corner. Can we tuck into the slipstream? Yes, we can. Right on his gearbox now. Downhill into turn 4. Up the inside we go, leaving the space. And on the exit, we have got the position. I try to run him quite narrow into the next corner, and he concedes the position. He backs out. He doesn't want to go in narrow like that. And we move up into the lead of the race. So this has happened actually a little bit quicker than I would have thought, because for that first split, or first sector of the race, first half of the race, this guy seemed quite bulletproof. He wasn't really making many mistakes, but then at the start of this sort of second half of the race, he's beginning just to make a couple of little errors, and that's let me in here. So into the lead of the race, on lap 14, 7 laps to go. Certainly isn't over. About a third of the race left to go at this point, and you know, memories of that huge bottling on the previous race at the forefront of my mind, so I know it's definitely not over. By lap 17, you can see the gap opening up, and I've managed just to eke out another second or so about 1.7 seconds the gap. He goes into the pit lane then at the end of this lap, at the end of 17. My laps were fairly consistent at this point. You see there sort of high 16s on the medium tyre, which I'm pretty pleased with, although the previous lap 17 there, 17.4, a little bit slower. So Prima there going into the pit lane. He goes onto the hard tyre. I'm going to come in then at the end of this lap. This lap, therefore, needs to be a good one. He's going to have the undercut on me once again. He gained, 3 tenths on me last time? And that was partly because he had to overtake someone. He probably could have gained a bit more if he didn't have to go past that guy. So this lap does need to be good. There is pressure on this, because if I don't get it right, then there's a very good chance I could come out behind him. And with only 2 laps left to go after this one, then that would not be a good scenario to find myself in. So coming up then towards the penultimate corner, we're going to keep to the right hand side here, hug the right hand side, and then go into the pit lane and taking a nice wide entry and swapping over to the hard tyre, the final of 3 compounds available. You only have to use the medium and hard again, but this is the last of the 2 compulsory ones. And that is it. From here to the end of the race, we are going to the end. It's just direct battle now. But throwing a spanner into the works is this track limit penalty. I must have ran slightly too wide. 2.4 seconds, that gap is coming down. He does have the boost and the momentum, courtesy of being out on the track a lap earlier. You can see the gap there. I think in that viewpoint, it actually looks a lot closer. And it actually looks a little bit more daunting. Through the penalty zone, serving the half a second, and the gap comes down as we head towards turn 4. So it was 2.4 pretty much as I came out the pit lane. But you see there's a lot closer now, pretty much about a second. And therefore, even though this race was looking quite comfortable, I suppose he was never too far away. It's just got a little bit more uncomfortable with only 1.5 laps left to go. If I make any mistakes here, then this guy is certainly going to get past. You know, I can't make a big mistake like I did in the previous race. That absolutely cannot happen. Otherwise, it's a guaranteed loss. But with 1 lap left to go, plus these final 2 corners, I'm in the lead. I'm in a good position. The lead is a good position. First place is the best position in motorsport, in case you didn't know. Across the line then, that's it. Final lap has begun. Lap 20 of 20 up into the first corner. Just taking the curb. I think if you want the absolute if you want the absolute lap time, you can run your 2 wheels on sort of the AstroTurf beyond the curb on the way into turn 1. But it does unsettle the car, and when you've got the brake bias all the way to the back, it really does sort of flip your car around, and it's quite dangerous, obviously. A tip I picked up from Key 25 was that you should downshift really slowly or late. Don't downshift early because it will really unsettle the back of the car. And with rear bias, that really gets accentuated. You don't want to make it any worse than it actually needs to be. So downshift quite late, and you should be fine. Keep the car under control. Okay, half a lap left to go. We're keeping it under control. We have 2 corners left to go after this one, and it's been a really good race. A really, really good race. Really close between myself and Phoenix here. Really enjoyed it. Unfortunately for me, on this occasion, I felt comfortable in the car, and it was enough. I think I had the pace. I was a little bit quicker. And get in there, Lewis. Miracles do happen, mate. Not in a Mercedes, but in a Toyota, but you get the gist of it. But there we go. I really enjoyed that. I hope you did too. You probably did because you're still here. And well, that is going to bring a close to the video. 2 videos in 2 days. I hope you're enjoying it. And I hope you're enjoying the slightly longer video length. Let me know if that is a good thing for you. But that is the end. We've come to the end. We've actually won a Nations Cup race for once. It's taken a while. We don't often win too many FIA races, but we've got one at long last. But that is all from me. Thank you so much for watching. As always, stay safe, and until next time, have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.